A single poison sumac shrub can trigger rashes in up to 75% of adults, while other sumac plants have been eaten in North America for generations. Same land, same name, but one ends up in the kitchen and the other can send you to urgent care. So how did edible native sumac become a drink, a spice and a dye, while its cousin just waits to ruin your day? And what label tricks or plant details can you check right now to know which sumac you're actually dealing with before you touch, eat or even sip it? So why does one sumac spice your food and another one quietly waits to wreck your skin? About 50 to 75% of US adults react to poison sumac, ivy or oak, yet millions of people happily eat sumac every week. That sounds broken, right? Same word, totally different ending. One ends up on your plate, the other can put you in a clinic. When people talk about the red spice, they mean Rhus coriaria. This plant comes from the Mediterranean and West Asia, and a 2021 review calls it a commonly used spice in that region. What you buy is not leaves or stems, it is dried fruit. That fruit is packed with natural acids like citric acid and malic acid, plus a heavy load of plant antioxidants. A 2019 lab study dug into those fruits and found very high phenolic content. That matters because phenols help slow damage from free radicals. But forget the lab talk for a second, you already know this from taste. When you sprinkle sumac on chicken, hummus, salad, grilled meat or rice, it hits fast, sour, bright, sharp. Food suddenly tastes awake. That clean profile is why this sumac shows up in cosmetics and health products too. For a lot of people, it feels harmless. It sits quietly in a jar. It tastes good. The research words sound friendly. Some people even label it a superfood, which lowers your guard even more. Now watch how hard the story flips. In North America, the same word can point to Toxicodendron vernix, better known as poison sumac. This plant grows as a woody shrub or small tree and can reach about 30 feet tall. It has grey bark, smooth feather-like leaves, and it loves places most people don't study closely, like swamps, peat bogs and wet clay soil in the eastern US and southeast Canada. Every part of this plant carries urushiol, the same oil that makes poison ivy and poison oak such a problem. Medical reviews put it plainly. US adults are sensitive to it, and reactions can get intense. Skin health groups estimate reactions hit around 50 million Americans every year. Doctors also point out that poison sumac can cause more severe reactions than ivy or oak. Rashes can last 2 to 3 weeks, blister badly, and if the plant is burned, the smoke can cause life-threatening lung trouble. Some safety sheets warn that about 15% of allergic people react within 4 to 12 hours and may need emergency care. That confusion is why quick labels fail and why species clues matter before you're close. Once you see that split, you don't see it, and that matters because the next clues look simple, until they quietly trap you. And that's when you realize one little word can split your future in half. But if you see sumac on a hill, how do you even know if it's friend or enemy? When you see red sumac on a hill, what tells you make tea and not back away now? Here's a grounding fact. Smooth sumac grows in every US state and parts of Canada, and it prefers dry ground. Picture a sunny hillside or roadside with bright red shapes sticking up above the leaves. Your brain jumps to free drink, then pauses. Is this the friendly one or the painful one? Those upright red cones usually belong to staghorn sumac or smooth sumac. Smooth sumac is a native shrub that grows about 9 to 15 feet tall and wide. It handles drought well, which is why it shows up on dry rocky hillsides, prairies, roadsides and open woodlands. That location already tells you something important. Now look at the shape. Both of these hilltop sumacs have long, feather-like leaves made of many leaflets. At the ends of the branches sit upright clusters of hairy red fruit. Field guides describe them as erect spires above the leaves, and that detail matters. They point up, not down, and they often stay on the plant into winter. That upright red cone is your first big safety signal. People have used these fruits for a long time. The old drink names still float around, Sumacade or Indian lemonade. The process is simple. You soak the fruit clusters in cold water and strain them. The water turns tart and refreshing. Guides explain that the taste comes from malic and citric acid, the same acids that make apples and lemons taste sharp. That is why a small handful can flavor a whole jug of water. Here's the part that calms people down, and it should. Poison sumac usually avoids these dry hills. It prefers wet swamps and peat bogs. Field guides repeat this habitat rule again and again, so the hill speaks first. Dry ground, sunny exposure, toothed leaflets, and a big red cone pointing up. Those signs push you toward the safer group people use for drinks. Still, one doubt sticks around. Birds eat these red clusters constantly. Birds also eat poisoned sumac fruit when food gets scarce. If birds can eat both, why does touching one wreck your skin? That question pulls you into the real danger. Why do birds eat these berries like candy while you could break out in rashes from one touch? One solid fact sets the stage. Smooth sumac fruit can stay on the plant deep into winter, feeding wildlife when almost nothing else is available. Wild turkeys, mourning doves, and other birds rely on those clusters when snow covers seeds and insects. Poison sumac berries also get eaten. Botanists note that its whitish-grey fruits end up on bird menus when options run out. So why does your body freak out? The answer is urushiol. This oil coats the stems, leaves, and fruit skin of poison ivy, poison oak, and poison sumac. Human skin treats urushiol like a serious threat. A children's hospital source explains that nearly 85% of people can develop a rash from it. Skin health groups point out that this plant family causes the most common allergic reaction in the US, affecting up to 50 million people each year. This changes how you read the plant. Your skin is not reacting because the plant looks scary. It reacts because an invisible oil trips your immune system's alarm. Once that alarm is triggered, it can keep ringing for days or weeks. Animals play by different rules. Birds, deer, and some other animals do not react to urushiol the way humans do. One toxic plant guide puts it bluntly: all parts of the plant are toxic to mammals, including humans, yet white-tailed deer have been known to eat the ripe fruit without harm. That difference is not kindness. It is chemistry. The plant runs two strategies at once. For birds, the berries act like food, and birds spread the seeds. For you, the oil acts like a strong stay-away signal, and your immune system takes that message very seriously. That leads to a hard truth. You cannot copy wild animals and expect safety. A branch that holds a flock today can still give your skin weeks of trouble tomorrow. Once that sinks in, you stop watching birds for proof and start watching details instead. And that brings up a sharper question. What tiny detail flips a fun, wild drink into a painful mistake? What tiny shape on the leaves turns fun, wild snack into, why is my arm burning like this? Here's the key fact. Poison sumac leaf edges are smooth, while the safe hilltop sumacs usually are not. That small detail can decide your entire week. Start with the red cone plants people trust. Smooth sumac leaflets measure roughly 2¼ to 4½ inches long. Their edges look shallowly toothed, not smooth. These leaflets sit along a stem with no wings. At the branch tips, you see scarlet, hairy fruit clusters that stand upright and often last into winter. Staghorn sumac looks similar but adds one extra clue. Its twigs are fuzzy, like deer antlers covered in velvet. That fuzzy texture is a fast signal if you are close enough to see it clearly. Now watch poison sumac flip the design. It grows 7 to 13 smooth-edged leaflets on a red stem. The leaf edges look calm and polished. The fruit changes even more. Instead of red cones, you get creamy white to grey berries about 1/2 centimetre wide, hanging in loose, drooping clusters under the leaves. You never see a bright red torch pointing up. One short gardening line carries a lot of weight. Poison sumac has white berries and smooth bark, while staghorn sumac has red berries and fuzzy bark. That sticks because it hits colour and texture at the same time. Habitat can outrank all of this when you are tired or rushed. Smooth sumac grows on dry hillsides and open ground. Poison sumac prefers wet swamps and peat bogs. If your boots sink into mud and moss, your risk just jumps. Put these clues together and your brain can run a fast check without panic. Dry upland or wet bog, bright red fruit or pale grey. Upright cones or drooping strings, toothed edges or smooth ones. These details look boring on paper. Outside, they decide whether you spend the week sipping tart tea or scratching at night. Respecting small clues becomes a habit. You glance at bark, count leaflets, check fruit direction, and notice if the ground stays dry. Then another problem creeps in. Online posts flatten everything into one rule, but plants demand context: species name, habitat, fruit color, and leaf edges. If this already feels more complicated than you expected, don't go anywhere. One small detail is coming up that most people miss, and it completely changes how you look at sumac outside. The clash comes from two worlds using the same word. On the safe side, people usually mean the spice plant, Rus coriaria, plus native sumacs like smooth and staghorn. Ethnobotany records describe native communities making sumac aid, chewing berries to ease thirst, and using bark and leaves for dye and leather tanning. When someone says sumac, they picture drinking jars and red cones on sunny hills. Modern lab work strengthens that comfort. Studies on Rus coriaria fruit report high levels of phenolic acids, flavonols, tannins, and anthocyanins, all linked to antioxidant activity. Some papers even rank sumac extracts among natural antioxidant sources with high phenolic content. Health blogs grab those lines and jump straight to miracle spice. On the danger side, doctors mean something else. In North America, sumac often means poison sumac, grouped with poison ivy and oak. Safety sheets note that about 15% of allergic people react very fast and very hard. In that world, sumac means rashes, swollen eyes, missed work, and sleepless nights. Online, these worlds collide. Food posts say sumac and mean spice or safe shrubs. Safety posts say sumac and mean a swamp plant. Each side is right in its own lane and misleading outside it, so people repeat short lines that hide risk. Sumac is safe. Sumac is dangerous. Almost nobody names the species, the place, or the use. That missing detail is the real danger. On a muddy trail with a kid and a dog, you are not reading studies. You are trusting one simple rule from a post. When that rule meets low light and wet ground, calm advice turns into pain. What happens when you trust one simple rule online and it fails you on a muddy trail at dusk? Here's the detail people underestimate. Urushiol oil can stay active on clothes, tools, and dog fur for months. That makes one mistake last far longer than expected. Quick slogans exist because they help busy minds. Leaves of 3, let it be. Red berries good, white berries bad. They work until conditions change. All plants in the Toxicodendron group share urushiol, and together they cause the most common allergic skin problem in North America. One broken stem can smear oil onto pants or fur. Days later, you touch it again and wonder why a rash suddenly appears. Some training sheets warn that very sensitive people can blister within 4 to 12 hours instead of a day or two. That delay tricks people. You brush a plant at dusk, feel fine at night, then wake up in trouble. Now add bad light and wet ground. Berries darken, branches overlap, moss hides the base. A damaged plant loses fruit and your colour rule stops feeling clear. You lean closer. Your wrist brushes a leaf. The oil does not care what rule you follow. Extreme cases include lung problems from burning poison sumac, but the common outcome hurts plenty. Weeks of blisters, missed work, and broken sleep add up fast. The lesson becomes sharp. Short rules start learning, but they never finish it. In wet woods and low light, the smartest move is walking away. That boring habit beats pain. Once that clicks, a bigger idea follows. If one plant can break shortcuts this hard, what does that say about every free food in nature trick online? Why does this one plant make you question every free food in nature trick you thought you knew? Here's the contrast that forces the rethink. The same plant family provided vitamin-rich drinks and also the most common plant allergy in North America. People love saying, "Our grandparents ate this." With sumac, that is partly true. Historical notes show that smooth and staghorn sumac were used to make sour drinks when citrus was unavailable. In some places, that helped prevent scurvy during long winters. The same family helped leather workers too. Tannins in bark and leaves supported hide tanning, and dyers used the plants for deep reds and browns. On the surface, it looks like a gift. Then the other side appears. Related plants in the same clan cause rashes in up to 85% of people. Toxicology reviews show most people react strongly to poison ivy allergens. The same family gives useful tools and widespread pain. That contrast changes how free sounds. Free often means you pay later. You pay with skin, sleep, time, and sometimes money. You pay because one wrong plant looks close enough to the right one, and a video feels easier than careful observation. Sumac makes that lesson loud. Same word, different species, same color vibe, different chemistry. Once you see that, your brain starts asking better questions without effort. Which plant? Which place? Which part? Apps and guides help, but they can fail when stress is high. That brings everything back to one final choice. Your eyes, your apps, or the weird feeling in your gut about sumac. Here is the honest fact. Apps can guess, but your body pays. Plant ID apps use real databases and maps, and they help you learn safely. But a phone cannot feel mud under your boots or glare washing out colour. It cannot feel the rush that makes you hurry. Photos at dusk blur edges. Rain changes how berries look. One blocked branch can mimic another species. Even a strong match can miss, and your skin does not care about almost. Your body gives you 3 tools apps cannot replace. First, trust the ground. Wet bog plus pale drooping berries means back away. Second, trust shape. Dry hill plus upright red cones and toothed leaves points towards safer sumac. Third, trust that quiet gut signal. If something feels off, even when an app says yes, leave it alone. Health advice stays blunt for a reason. If you touch these plants, wash skin and clothes quickly. If swelling hits your face or breathing feels hard, get medical help. That rule beats shortcuts because mistakes happen. So what should you trust? Patterns over single pictures, slow learning over fast hacks, boring care over bravado, and the quiet thought that says, I'll skip this one today. Sumac proves one lasting truth. A plant can be useful and edible while sitting one wrong step away from pain. Once you see that, you start seeing it everywhere. If learning about sumac made you rethink what's really safe to eat or touch outside, you're not alone. There are way more food secrets and plant surprises out there. Hit the next video to keep uncovering the weird truths nobody else tells you. Stick around, things only get more interesting from here.